Hey, listeners, I am so excited for this podcast episode. Imagine that you are out with your friends and you're super excited to go out and you get to the place that you're going and it's just not what you were hoping for. No one is feeling it. You're just kind of like, oh, this really doesn't hit the spot. And you're kind of wondering what to do and where you should go. And this place comes to mind and you're like, let's go here. You suggest it just because it came to mind. And you go, and this place is bliss. Everything is perfect. The food is so good. The atmosphere is just the right vibe. Everything just flows, and it hits the spot. And you're just in the right place at the right time. It's everything you needed. You feel so fulfilled and so excited. This is your intuition. That impulse of like, this place, let's go here, let's change it up, let's go here, is your intuition. And this is what this podcast episode is all about. So if you are ready, let's go. Welcome to the Energy and Intuition Podcast. I'm your host, Janice Brown, and I'm an intuition and energy coach, a respiratory therapist, a yoga instructor, and a speaker. This podcast is all about making your life easy because when you understand things from an energetic perspective and you know how your intuition works and feels, things just kind of light up and flow along. It becomes really clear and very, very empowering. So this podcast is all about you and elevating that perspective. It's about having that conversation to give us that clarity. We're going to break a lot of things down and have a lot of fun doing it. Here we go. All right, welcome guys. We are going to talk about intuition today. So what is intuition? And there are so many definitions possible, but the definition I want to share with you today is that intuition is the highest knowing available to us. It is the highest level of knowing, and by that I mean that your intuition knows absolutely every last detail about you. It knows what you like, it knows what you don't like, it knows who you want to be, it knows what you want to achieve, it knows what you're proud of, it knows what you're trying to hide. And in addition to that, it knows how all of that fits in with the world around you. It knows the people that you need to help you grow and expand. It knows that, the circumstances, the places you are meant to be, the places that you will be happiest. It knows absolutely everything about you. And my favorite part is that all of us have this. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you have achieved. It does not matter what you have failed at. It does not care. Your intuition is there for you always. You could be like a philanthropist, living in a mansion, lots of money, able to give. You could be a drug addict on the street. Everyone has their intuition. It is there for you all the time. You don't have to earn it. It is there. Without you doing a single thing, it is there. And I love it so much for this. And I love breaking it down. So I really hope you are excited for this because intuition is very simple and very complex. And when you start leaning into energy, you'll start to find that there's this non-duality. It is all things. It is simple. It is complex. It is exhilarating and also very basic and grounding and normal. And let's talk about how intuition plays out in our lives first. Like, why do we care? First of all, it wants us to be happy. In order to do that, it has to keep us safe. And I think a lot of people will recognize this is something like your intuition or your spidey senses just said, don't get on the plane or don't go this way home or, right? It's that kind of avoidance. So say you're leaving work and you walk out the door of work and you're crossing the parking lot and it's the part of you that just pauses right before a car comes like blowing through the parking lot and you're like, oh, thank goodness I just hesitated. You didn't just hesitate. Your intuition was like, no way, man. No way, girl. You are not going right now. You are pausing because your intuition knows that vehicle is coming, even if you're not consciously aware of it. It's also, the part of you that seems to run interference sometimes just to keep you safe. So say like you're headed somewhere on your errands on Saturday and somebody just stops you and just delays you. And they're like, I swear we've met before. Do you know this person? And you're like, nope, I have no idea who you are. And you are certain. You're like, I don't know who this person is. And they're like, no, 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 no. Did we meet at this thing? Did you ever work here? And you're like, nope, that's not me. And it's just this really weird hold up, right? That's kind of your intuition and somebody else playing a part to just delay you, right? You've got to engage in this conversation and you keep just having to say no. And you're like, seriously, I don't know you. But your intuition is running interference for a reason. It's holding you there, right? And that moment feels so incredibly weird. And that's why. That's your intuition that's just like, we gotta keep you here for a second or two longer because there's something that we don't want you to be involved in coming up. And if we can delay you, you'll miss it and life will be great. And it also keeps us safe. And we've all had this, that one time that you meet somebody and you're just like, oh, all kinds of no, like your gut turns. You're like, I don't want to deal with this person. I just don't get a good vibe. That's your intuition when you get a flag about somebody, and it could be good or bad, right? It could be a green flag. You could be like, yes, I love this person. I want to work with them. Absolutely. But it's also a red flag, right? Stay away from this person. It's just not a good feeling. So your intuition is always working to keep you safe, which is really, really spectacular because your intuition wants you to be happy. So like I said, your intuition knows everything about you. It knows about all those things that you dream about, whether you tell other people or not. There's no privacy with your intuition. It knows absolutely everything. So you set the destination. It knows that you're dreaming of being a speaker or dreaming of owning your own company or dreaming of being a dancer, an actor, a writer, whatever it is, right? Your intuition knows. And if you listen to it, because your intuition will always provide opportunities, it will always provide guidance, inspirations, impulses, ideas, all kinds of things. Your intuition is always saying, go over here, go this way, meet this person, say hello to this person, go into this store, listen to this, watch this show. It will inspire you, right? And it's always trying to put you in the right places at the right time with the right opportunities. Now it's up to us to actually listen, right? Communication's a two-way street. So we have to be able to hear, understand, and make sense of our intuition, which is I'll get to some of that in this podcast episode. I won't be able to fully explain it. I do teach a course entirely on this. So you can listen to everything your intuition has to tell you because it is always there. But it's always trying to guide you. And it won't necessarily just hand you your dream. It's not like all these lightning bolt moments. But it'll say, go here, go there, do this, meet this person, take this course. And the reason it does these things, I know we get frustrated sometimes with the journey. It's like, I just want to live my dream. I just want to be this person already. But the reason that this happens is so that you have all the skills to be successful when you get there. And I promise you, when you get there, you're going to look back on the experiences and go, actually, I'm pulling something from what I learned here, and I'm pulling something from what I learned there. And this makes me better at doing this because I had this experience and I have more understanding, or I have the skill that I didn't think I would have. And so nothing is an accident. Your intuition is guiding you all the time, and it works through physical cues. Of course, it works through meditation. You don't have to meditate. I say that for all the people listening who are like, I'd really rather not. That's okay. Your intuition is communicating with you all the time. You don't have to necessarily meditate and get to an altered brain wavelength in order to get there, right? But it does work through physical cues. It does work through our mind. It works through our body. Like, we have everything we need to hear our intuition if we know what we're listening for it to guide us to our dreams, to every manifestation that you could possibly desire. And the third thing that I always include with intuition is that because it knows absolutely everything about you, and it wants you to have a good time while you are here on earth doing your thing, it sends you all these little impulses to make you feel happy, whole, complete, and just be in this state of flow. Like, it wants you to know how loved you are. So, what does this look like? Well, for me personally, I was at the grocery store one day and I was just doing my thing, and I'm generally pretty healthy, but I really do love dark chocolate. And I have a couple of favorites, and they had not been in, and I wasn't looking for them. And I was kind of like getting towards the checkout, and my intuition told me, like, just go back and check. Just go back and check the candy aisle. And I was like, I don't really need candy aisle, but When you know what your intuition sounds like, you always listen to it, or you almost always do. Sometimes sometimes I don't, and I get messages from clients who are like, "Man, I didn't listen. Here's what happened." When your intuition tells you something, it's always in your best interest to listen. So I was like, okay, I'll go down the candy aisle. And I went down the candy aisle, and not only was my favorite dark chocolate in stock, it was on sale. And so I just laughed because it was a very direct, intuitive impulse of like, Janice, go down the candy aisle. And of course, I was like, I'm not looking for candy, but I walked down and just immediately saw that my chocolate was in stock. And I just started laughing. And I just felt like, man, what a good day. What a really good day. Like, I've got an entire universe looking out for me, which I think is super exciting and reassuring to know. And we all have this. It's just a matter of learning to listen to it. And so I will say at this point, what your intuition is connected to is that greater part of creation. Whether you think this is the universe, whether you think it is God, whether you think it is spirit or source or just a part of you. To be honest, it does not matter to me where you think it comes from. What matters is that it's there. So you can call it whatever you want. If you would like to name it Bob, name it Bob. If you would like to call it God, please call it God. It doesn't matter so much what you call it, so long as it resonates with you, whatever gives you that focus point. So if you don't have a good relationship with, the quote unquote God, use something else. Use spirit, source, universe. Just call it yourself. It's okay. Your intuition will also put you in just these perfect moments, right? So you might be on a trip. You might be walking across a bridge and look off of it and just see these two people in the night just together dancing, having this perfect moment, and you just get to be there and take it in. And it's just that perfection, and it's just that sweetness, right? Life is giving you this really sweet, fulfilling moment just for you. Obviously, they don't know that you're there. They're just all in the moment, and you're just like, life is so grand and it's so pure. And that moment is brought to you by your intuition, right? Your intuition that says, walk across this bridge, look over it right now. And this is what you get to see. So it's these fulfilling moments. And if you can imagine for 1 second, if you had one or two really fulfilling moments, or moments like where you're nudged to go down the candy aisle that are just so reassuring that you are not alone and that you are supported. If you had a couple of those every day, how would you move through your days? Right? It's so incredible to know. It's so incredible to be tapped in and to be able to hear it and to know that it's there. And you have that. And if you're missing that, that's okay. Send me a message. We'll chat. But I promise you, it is there. Intuition is super, super beautiful because you can't mess it up. It is, like I said, always there. Doesn't matter. Doesn't take score of, you messed up last year, so I really can't offer you that. It's like, okay, we love you. Let's go. Okay, we love you. Let's go. It doesn't matter where you are. Like I said, you could be homeless. You can be living on the street. Your intuition is still there. You can be on top of the world, traveling the world, doing everything you love. Your intuition is still there. And you cannot get away from it, and you cannot mess up badly. So even if you're wildly depressed, like literally there are no excuses, your intuition is there. So take a moment right now. If you've been listening, if you are feeling kind of, a little bit stiff, I want you to stretch the arms up. Take a big breath in. When you're full, let it out. Take a moment, of course, to just tend to your body, tend to the energy. Because as we listen and we take on everything, right? We take in all this information. We intuitively know what to do with it. We don't actually have to try for that, but you're going to feel like, okay, I just took on a lot. And when you shift your body, it's just going to help things settle where they need to settle. You're going to take away what resonates with you, and it's going to be perfect. You always have what you need. So take a moment to stretch. And when you're ready, we will get right back to it. Okay, so we know what our intuition does, right? We know that it wants to guide us to our dreams, help us manifest, and accelerate those manifestations. I promise you there's no faster way to manifest than actually listening to your intuition. It likes to delight you along the way. And in order for all of that to happen, you have to not get hit by a bus. So your intuition likes to keep you safe. I hope you feel very, very loved right now. So we know all that, but how does it actually work? And a lot of the times people will say to me like, oh, intuition should feel like I've been hit by lightning. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And I understand why we have this belief, right? The stories of like J.K. Rowling, being on a train and just all of a sudden seeing Harry Potter on the train in the robes and the whole story, just like whoosh, life-changing moment, right? It's not always like that. And I want to debunk this because if you're always listening or looking for that lightning bolt, you are going to miss out on so much of what your intuition is offering you. Normally, our intuition is a lot more subtle. It's a lot more everyday, and I dare say it's a lot more basic than we've made it out to be. And it is there literally in every moment. So let's walk through these. And what I love about these and what I love about intuition is that movies actually show this. Movies actually show a lot of these examples. So they do it, but we never really recognize it as being our intuition. So let's talk about some physical cues. Sometimes, maybe you've experienced this, where your ears or your hearing will just pick up on a different phrase or at the name of something, and you'll just be like, that sounded different, right? There's a different pressure, there's a different resonance, and it just clicks. You're just like, oh, that caught my attention. It's those things that catch your attention. And in the movies, right, they'll be struggling with something and they'll be like, oh, like blah, blah, blah. And the other character will go, wait, what did you just say? Like it clicks and then they're gone, right? They like run out of the scene because they're going after the bad guy or whatever, right? It's that moment that clicks. And what you're looking for with intuition is something that clicks or it lands differently or it has a different resonance or it has an impact on you. Intuition is all about your truth. So it just has to resonate with you. So something like when somebody says the name of a podcast, maybe it's this one, and it just clicked and you were just like, ooh, that piqued my interest. That landed differently. That caught my attention. That's your intuition saying, get curious, check that out. Right? So it can happen with our hearing. For me personally, I will definitely hear just a different resonance sometimes. It just sounds like almost being underwater or a little more tinny. I don't know how else I can describe that. But I know if I hear that, Janice, you better pay attention. Because whatever was just said in that tinny period, right? That phrase or that word, that's important for you. And it might just be reassuring me, but it might be something I need to go and investigate and be curious about and look up more. Or it might just be like confirmation, go here, do this. So it's learning what your cues are. The same can happen with our eyesight. We can see something and it almost feels like time just pauses. There's a clarity about it. It's just a little finer detail or everything around it kind of stops moving, right? And this thing is just so clear. And this happened to me when I was a kid. We were driving on a road trip and I was maybe 6 or 7 at the time. I can't really remember. And we were going to a family reunion and I'm the youngest of 3. And so I was in the back of the car and we're driving and this exit on the highway just stood out to me. And keep in mind, I'm like 6 or 7. I have no idea how roads work or where we're going. I'm just in the car for the ride. And there was just something about it. Like I can remember it to this day. And I was like, oh, that's just really interesting, right? We passed dozens of exit signs. I really don't know why this one stood out. But about 40 minutes later, my mom said, hey, kids, has anyone seen this exit? We totally missed it. This was well before GPS, by the way. And I was like, yeah, it was back there about 40 minutes. And my mom was like, no way did you know that? No way. Like, why would, you're the youngest. There's no way. But it was the right exit. We missed it. And it stood out to me because my intuition knew, even though I didn't, that 40 minutes later, my parents were going to ask. That was the exit we needed. My intuition knew everybody else missed it. So they alerted me and I just filed it away. Didn't do anything with it for another 40 minutes. So your intuition knows. It knows what's going on, not only with you, but with the people around you. And sometimes you are going to be the receiver of things. and other times you are going to be the provider of things, right? So like I said, sometimes you'll hear the name of a podcast, but other times you'll be talking about the podcast and that will pique an interest in somebody else. So we're all cooperative components here, which is really, really cool. So ears, eyes, there's a lot of ways that your intuition can work with you physically. Tingles, physical sensations, right? If I'm not being mindful, I'll feel an actual nudge on my right shoulder. And I know that's my intuition saying, hey, Janice, pay attention. That might be similar for you. That might be different. The thing about intuition is that everyone is different. Everyone's intuition works differently. And so you are looking for how yours works. You are looking for your cues, what things mean to you. Our intuition also works through our mind. Now, our mind is a little bit noisier and sometimes a little bit harder to discern because we also have our ego. We also have all of our worries, all of our concerns, all of our worst case scenarios, and we have to filter through that a little bit. If you're practicing intuition, I recommend you start with the body. Start with noticing how things feel to you. But through the mind, ideas, impulses, those things that seem to come out of nowhere, just suddenly drop in and you're like, oh my gosh. If it's an inspired thought, inspired action, like you just really want to, you can't stop yourself from doing this because you're so excited, that's your intuition. And another way to tell if it's your intuition is, do you keep coming back to the same idea or the same thought or the same name? Repetition, when you're not trying for it, right? You can feel the difference between, this is contrived, like I really want it, and so I'm kind of trying to force the issue. Or you're chilling, you're doing nothing, you're, in your garden or in the shower or just busy with other things, and this keeps pulling at your mind. Not because you're worried, it just keeps pulling at your mind. That's your intuition trying to get your attention. So there's lots of ways that your intuition works. The key is to know what works for you, know how it works with you. And for me, it's always helped to think of my intuition as my best friend, just that all-knowing, super funny, super easygoing, always loves me best friend. Because then I can treat it like a relationship and I can treat it like a two-way communication. Right? I'll sit down and say, okay, I call my intuition my team for anyone who's wondering, because one, it makes me laugh and that's a really good vibration to have. So it's like team meeting. I got that from my friend Christine. If you're listening, Christine, I love you. So I call it my team. We have team meetings, right? And I'll be like, okay, team, this is where we're going this week. I really want to do this, right? I give my team direction. I give my intuition direction. And then I follow those inspired actions. The key is to practice knowing how it works with you, right? What are your cues? How does it work? One of my really good friends, her sense of smell is phenomenal. And she knows when she smells florals, it's a happy ending. If she's stressed about something and she's like, how is this going to end? What's going to happen? If she smells florals, happy ending. And it's beautiful because then she can ease off the worry. And she can show up as her best self and she can direct her energy. So your intuition will reassure you. The thing is like we talked about in episode 1, you have to know what's your energy and what's not your energy. That is going to help you immensely. It's going to help you get clear on what is yours. And then when you know what's yours, you can work through what is your intuition and what's just worry and what's just excess. But you can start to fine tune and hear your intuition. And when you can hear your intuition, which is really just noticing what is landing, what is having an impact, what is resonating, just that kind of awareness of what you're being aware of or what you are aware of. That is your intuition, and that you can fine tune to say, okay, my goal is to be a dancer. My goal is to have $20,000 months or $100,000 months or $1 million month or year or whatever. Whatever your goal is, you can start working with your intuition and say, okay, what's my next step? How do I go from here to there? And your intuition can tell you. With practice, it's a running dialogue. Some of you will be more visual. Some of you will be more auditory. Some of you might actually have a dialogue. It gets to that point and it's super, super fun and it's super cool. So I hope I answered what is intuition. To me, it's one of the most exciting topics and the most empowering topic to explore. And I genuinely believe that if we could all tune into our intuition, because there is no ego there, it's only love. If we could all tune into our intuition and we all listen to it, the world would be such a better, kinder, more loving place. Not only for us, but for everyone around us. And if we all tuned into that, oh my gosh, guys, just off the charts. Let's take a quick pause to take a breath, tend to our energy. You might move the body. And then let's get back to it. Let's come full circle as to why do we care? Like, why do we care about our intuition? In the example that I gave right at the start of this episode, right? You're having a crappy time. It's really not fitting the bill. You can use your intuition to flip that, make a change, and suddenly have an awesome night and an incredible time with your friends. So you have more moments that are kind of that divinely guided, like, go here, we know you're going to love it. Go here, we know it's going to be the perfect thing for you. Go here, we know it's going to be exactly what you need. And to me, that makes life so efficient because you're getting return on your energy. If you're spending energy going out doing something, if you're going out, you want to get return on your energy spent. You want to fill your cup and you want it to increase your capacity and your joy. And the other thing I love about it in terms of efficiency is following your intuition is time freedom. When you know what the right thing is for you, when you know, like, this is it, this is my choice, this is the decision. When it's so clear, you don't spend time waffling or debating or arguing with yourself. There's no wondering, there's no questioning. You're just like, this is it. And now, rather than spending 3 days trying to decide what to do and all that energy trying to decide what to do, you've made the decision. You have 3 free days and you have a ton of extra energy to go and do the things you love, which you tell yourself you want to do all the time anyhow. Oh, I wish I had time for this. I wish I had energy for this. When you follow your intuition, it's really clear and you have time for that and you have energy for that. So it just really elevates our life. It elevates every aspect of our life. The other reason that I really love intuition is because it's helped me with the why. So I used to be really anxious and I used to really want to control the outcome of everything. I just wish it could be like this and why can't it do this and why can't everyone do what I want? And things didn't click. I'm really not good without understanding. And when I'm using my intuition, which is almost all the time, even when it's something that I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really sure why I'm here. And it's like, okay, just experience it. So I go and I experience it and it's like, oh my gosh, this helped me get more clear on my messaging. This helped me get more clear on my vision. This kind of launched me forward and it creates a pivot in me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, without that experience, I wouldn't have made it this far. And so I kind of know, even as I'm experiencing it, it's like, oh my gosh, I really needed that. So for me, it makes all the pieces click. It gives me that why, and it helps me understand why I'm there, why I'm spending energy there. And it gives me that return on my energetic investment. Like if I'm showing up, what am I getting out of this? Because everything I do now elevates me in some way. It either delights me and it makes me excited and happy, or it helps me to grow and expand. And to be honest with you, that's really all I want out of life. I want to enjoy it, or I want to be learning and growing and expanding. And that's all I get to do now. And the best part is as I'm doing that, and as I'm listening to my intuition, not only am I receiving so much, I'm also a cooperative component. So I'm also sharing and I'm supporting others. And it's wonderful because then everyone else benefits. So using your intuition really, really elevates your life. It takes everything from like a 7 to a 10. And it just gives you almost that feeling of floating, but you're super, super grounded. You just know. And when you're not in that point, I always joke with people in my courses, once you start hearing it, and once you start listening to it, and once you start feeling kind of that, like, oh my gosh, this is always working out better than I expected. This is easier than I expected. This is more delightful than I expected. Not listening to those impulses starts to feel worse and worse and worse. So it actually gets easier to listen to because you're like unwilling to compromise. You are unwilling to not be in that state. And it's so beautiful because everyone else benefits. Because like I said, you have time freedom, you have energetic freedom, you have more energetic capacity. And that's just your life. So I hope that this has made you somewhat excited to tune in and hear your intuition. We have talked about it for so long in terms of this ambiguous thing that is out there and sometimes magically happens in lightning bolt moments for special people. Or you have to meditate for hours. And it is not. It is an everyday thing that happens for you all the time. So if you're excited by that, amazing, lean into it more. That's how you know you've got that energy like, I already want more of this. So your intuition's already working. You can feel it, like I said, in every moment. So there we go. That is our episode on what is intuition. I hope it inspired you. I hope it excites you. And I hope it gives you clarity and confidence that this is real and this is something that you can use every day. And it is like your best friend and your personal assistant. It's so incredible. So keep using it. If you have questions, of course, or want to learn more, you are welcome to message me. Please do send me an email. All the information's below. You can check out my courses, including my signature course, Soul Tuition, where I walk you through all things energy and intuition, absolutely everything about how your intuition works and how energy works. But start to welcome this into your life because you're going to notice incredible changes, and it might not make sense at the time, but when you know what you're listening for and what you're feeling for, there is nothing that can stop you. I love you all. Have an absolutely incredible week, and we'll dive into a new topic next Monday. My name's Janice Brown. Thank you so much for listening. If it resonates, take a moment to follow along, give a review, or share this with a friend. Ideally, share it with a friend whose name came to mind while you were listening, because that's your intuition at work and that's the person who needs it. If you have questions you want me to answer on this podcast, or you want to go deeper into this work, you can find all that information below. There's my website, and there's a couple of ways to contact me. I would love to hear from you. You guys are absolutely incredible, and I'm so, so grateful to share this experience with you.